Thank you for staying with us. All our topics so far seem to be tied together. Talking about subsidy and what government has to do and all that. And one of the things that government has to do is to provide housing for people. Whether it is cheap or not is not the issue right now, just provide housing.
Other than under the bridge.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have Shelter Afrique with us in the studio, and Shelter Afrique is a pan-African institution that exclusively supports the development of the housing and real estate sector in Africa. And guess what? They're coming to Nigeria. Here. It's our pleasure to welcome the Managing Director of Shelter Afrique. He's also the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Andrew Chiponda.
Good morning, Alero, and your viewers. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Well, your coming is wonderful news to us because, you are coming because you have heard of the housing deficit in Nigeria. True or false?
It's very true. It's very true.
So we do welcome you with open arms, as we say in this part.
Thank you.
But Shelter Afrique has been in other countries in Africa, and our housing problems are not new. So why are you deciding to come into Nigeria at this point in time?
Wow. At this point in time, I have to say that firstly, thank you for having me. I'm very privileged to be here today. So Shelter Afrique, just to give you a perspective, it's been in existence for 40 years, since 1981. And it actually has done some business in Nigeria. We've approved 53 projects in Nigeria to date, worth about $191 million. That's what we approved. But we found that even though we've approved the projects, we were only able to pay out 88 million of that, $88 million to 23 projects. And of course, that has been because of issues to do with foreign exchange risk, where we give money in US dollars, but the counterparties or our clients take that money in dollars, but they're lending in Naira. Then when there's a devaluation, it's a problem. So that low take-up has been a result of clients not being able to have a hedging mechanism that's affordable to be able to cater for that foreign exchange problem. So despite that history, we are now deciding, yes, we want to come to Nigeria now. And it's not a coincidence. It's a deliberate strategy or strategic direction we've been given by our board to say, you can't do business in Africa if you're not focused purely on Nigeria, the largest economy in Africa, the third largest populous country in the world, but in Africa, the most populous. So we look and we say Nigeria, 200 million people. We expect through our Center of Excellence, it will be up to even double 400 million people by 2050, which coincides with the population boom. So you have to, if you are serious about addressing housing in Africa, you have to take a serious look and a focused look into the beautiful country of Nigeria.
For some of the, I'm pretty sure that, of course, it's a business for you, but before you come into any environment, you must have done some, I don't know if the word is due diligence.
Yeah, due diligence.
It's the right word. So the question I would want to ask is, what are some of those challenges that you have seen in the housing and real estate sector, especially in Nigeria, and what are the options you're proposing?
Okay, so you're right. We operate, to give you a perspective, across 45 countries. As Shelter Afrique, we're a pan-African institution, and we have a strategy for each country. So one of the things we've done is we have a Center of Excellence that has done a study of Nigeria, but beyond that, we also work in collaboration, and we build smart partnerships with local institutions as well that are on the ground. But the first thing is the deficit of housing. It's a big problem. it's a big challenge. But to us, we consider it a crisis. Why do we consider it a crisis? It's because through our Center of Excellence, which is actually run by Nigerian Dr. Mohammed Gambo, we estimate the shortage of housing in Africa at 56 million units. 56 million units. So maybe at an average of, let's say, $25,000 a house, that's about $3 trillion you need to resolve the African shortage. But now if you go down country by country and we come to Nigeria, the shortage, and these are figures since even 2017, it was sitting at 17 million. If you factor in population growth rate and urbanization, people, the rural-urban migration, you're probably sitting at 22 million units. But can you see that with the overall shortage of 56 million, Nigeria has the biggest challenge in terms of housing deficit. If you were to compare with the likes of Ghana, close by is 1.7 million units. Kenya in East Africa, it's about 2 million units. If you go to DRC, Congo, it's 3 million units. South Sudan, 4 million units. So can you see that when you look at the continent as a whole, we have a bigger shortage? Albeit always numbers are debatable, but we have a bigger housing problem because of two main factors. That is the population growth rate. I mean, we estimate by 2050, Africa currently at 1.3 billion will double its population to about 2.5 billion. But what does that mean for ordinary Nigerians? As the population is growing and as you are getting rural to urban migration, currently the urbanization, people in urban areas are actually 50%. So at the current population, 100 million are in the urban areas. But every year you have rural-urban migration of about 6%, so that starts to grow. And what interests us as Shelter Afrique is we want to contribute to, let's call it, providing a solution through large-scale but low-cost housing, so that as people are coming in, they are also being housed. Because if you don't deal with the housing problem in a deliberate manner, you're going to have a proliferation of slums. And that is obviously never good. So we work very closely with the Minister of Works and Housing, Honorable Raji Babatunde Fashola, SAN. We work very closely, and we actually, Nigeria is a shareholder of Shelter Afrique, interestingly enough, the second largest shareholder. And when the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Honorable Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, pays the capital that she's committed, Nigeria will be the largest shareholder of Shelter Afrique. So we look and we say, what is Nigeria doing about housing? Is it serious? We see a government that is serious. Why? Because it set up institutions to try to deal with that. Family Homes Fund, Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company. You also see, obviously, the Federal Mortgage Bank and many, many others.
So is that saying that the, people, the average Nigerian can come to Shelter Afrique for some intervention?
Well, the average Nigerian cannot come to Shelter Afrique for an intervention because we are a wholesale market maker. So what do we do as Shelter Afrique? We look and we say, what are the government plans for housing? Post-COVID, there was the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan to deliver 300,000 housing units, low cost, large scale, which was, and I think it's obviously still in progress because this was 2020, which was going to generate jobs in the tune of 1.8 million and of course benefit about 1.5 million Nigerians. So what we do is we come in and we now say, okay, fine, we will provide lines of credit to banking institutions. Why are our lines of credit unique? Is because we provide long tenures, which other commercial banks cannot provide. We can provide even 10-year lines of credit, etc. We try to provide competitive interest rates so that they can take that money and now provide mortgage loans as the off-take. That is on the demand side. What we then do is on the supply side, we will fund developers through project finance, either through another bank or directly through to the developers, so that now they can take that money and build housing units. So that's how we intervene to contribute. And we can also, provide partnerships, as in provide lines of credit to the likes of Family Homes Fund or even Federal Mortgage Bank in itself. Yes. And we're part and parcel of also the conceptualization of the Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company to be able to kickstart and develop the mortgage industry in the country. Maybe just a point of note when I talk mortgages, I just wanted to make a point that we measure country by country through our Center of Excellence the mortgage penetration to GDP. And you'll be interested to know that Nigeria's is 0.5%. But to contextualize it, South Africa is 16%. Then when you go to America, Australia, all these Western countries, it's 80%. So we look and say
80,
80, yes. That is interesting.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? It tells you that there is a huge opportunity to provide mortgages. It also tells you that perhaps mortgages and home ownership is not the only solution. Maybe we should have other products. Maybe rent to buy, buy to let, rental product, as long as people are living in decent, housings, because that's their human right constitutionally. And also, it also tells you that, there's more that can and will and need to be done to support housing through incremental loans, etc., and stuff like that. So those are the things that interest us as Shelter Afrique. I think it's a moral obligation that all our brothers and sisters have access to decent homes. And our vision is clear as Shelter Afrique, to provide decent and affordable homes for all Africans.
Mr. Chipondo, you said you work with governments as well as developers.
Yes.
Do these developers have any kind of parameters as to what kind of houses they can provide?
Yes.
Do you give them any?
So, well, I would say that a developer, Alero, wants to maximize development profit. So what we do is we are very prescriptive in our funding to say we're not looking for a developer that wants to develop high-end houses.
Luxury,
yes. And
houses.
Retire on one or two houses through that profit, etc. So what we do is we try to encourage developers to have the mindset to focus on, of course it has to be commercially viable, but to look at scale. So we try to target developers that do 1,000 units and above in terms of houses. So they're
that's the minimum.
Minimum,
1,000.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're watching, 1,000.
Exactly. And then we now challenge them and we say, through public-private partnerships, sometimes we can, get land, etc. But when they've got access to good-priced land, to say, why can't you develop a house for, let's say, $10,000? 5 million naira to even 20 to 30,000. Because at the end of the day, if you drive the cost down, the biggest problem we have in the whole of Africa, Alero, is affordability. Our brothers and sisters do not have access to houses because they can't afford the houses on the market. I'm not talking in general terms. And then access to affordable financing. So we as Shelter Afrique, we try to change that mindset to say, come to us, but we are interested to know the beneficiary, at what cost are you going to sell that house at? If it's mortgages, at what interest rate? Because the biggest challenge you have on access is sometimes interest rates can go up to 25%. Of course, you have the fund that will provide at 6%. So we as Shelter Afrique, we are changing a mindset. We are trying to, and we are the only institution, by the way, that exclusively focuses on housing, which is low cost and large scale. And that's in line with our mission.
Low cost, large scale. Interesting. I hope, Shelter Africa has also factored in the huge poverty challenge in Africa.
Yeah.
And so how do you deal with that? How is that factored in to the whole dynamic?
Well, you see, it is a challenge when you talk poverty. And it's even worsened by COVID-19, where more people have lost jobs. So we as Shelter Afrique, we've done our research through, again, our Center of Excellence in collaboration with UN Habitat. And we've realized that investing in housing and infrastructure, it's a key ingredient to kickstart economies in Africa, because housing creates jobs, and there's also a lot of other downstream benefits. And we believe that the only way you can handle the poverty issue is to provide an enabling environment to create more jobs through housing, so that people are employed, and then that reduces the poverty. Not only does it reduce the poverty, it also increases the contribution of housing to GDP, and it also stimulates economic growth. So poverty is always there, but it's about how do you reduce it, how do you make a contribution so that you reduce the unemployment rates in the countries that we operate in.
Okay. So one of the things that Shelter Afrique seeks as you come in to Nigeria is to woo investors ahead of your first time bond issuance in this year.
Correct.
Talk to us about that.
Okay. Well, thanks, Ayo. In fact, apart from eating the beautiful jollof rice and,
At least we have a confirmation.
Yes, it's the best.
Nigeria's jollof rice is top notch. Go ahead.
It is
we will install the plaque somewhere around.
Okay, okay, it's okay. So for us, we, through our board-approved plan, we're a very customer-centric organization. So when I mentioned that less than 50% of the monies approved to Nigeria was taken up because of this foreign exchange risk problem, we then decided to say, let's come into Nigeria and issue a local currency bond. We are coming in to issue an equivalent of 250 billion naira, or 500 million medium-term note bond, where we will now launch that bond by March. We will get this 250 billion coming from pension funds and other institutions, and we're going to direct that exclusively to low-cost, large-scale housing. But what is unique is that we will be providing loans in local naira. So you're not going to have the problem of foreign exchange risk, because we are matching the loans to what our clients will be also using to loan out, whether it's mortgages or whether it's project finance. So that's very, very exciting. The Security Exchange Commission has approved our prospectus, and we are looking to launch this very exciting program by March of 2022, God willing.
Okay, so can we safely assume that you are working with the federal government, developers, as well as state governments? Because the issue of land in Nigeria,
yes,
it is state governments who own the land.
Yes.
So if you're coming in and you want to actually, no, let me ask the question first before I jump to conclusions. Are you actually going to build these low-cost houses yourselves when the bond matures?
Yes. So I must say your question is a good one. It is a not negotiable that we have to work at federal and state level. So, in terms of our, let's call it engagements, as I said initially, we have engaged with the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing, Honorable Babatunda Raji Fashola, SAN. In terms of the SEC approval, Security and Exchange Commission approval, we've had massive support by the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed. So we work with them. So now when we go further and you say, how then is the money going to be deployed? So what we're doing is we work with the likes of REDAN, the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. We have an MOU through them to deliver 6,000 units across 6 regions to cover. So those developers who are members of REDAN, of course, will have to assess each project, it must be viable, etc. We will provide them financing, through project finance. We will also work with big developers. You know, I can call them maybe tier 1 developers, you know, likes of maybe Mixit, Brains and Hammer, but big developers to give, because they already have the land banks.
So
but we give them.
My apologies for butting it. This is your website?
Yes, indeed, yes.
Okay, this is your website. And this is some of the information people can find out on your website.
Oh yes, yes, definitely yes.
Okay,
that's our website. Yeah.
So, how do people come in? What can people get done on your website? What are the things that what are the benefits they can get on your website now? And perhaps in line with the question Alera asked earlier.
All right. So, okay. So on our website, what they can get to find out is if there are developers that are looking for financing, they can look to see what are the conditions or the checklist of what they need to have to apply for financing.
Okay.
That is, I think, a key benefit. If these are developers or even tier 1 or tier 2 financial institutions. If they are developers that want to work out in a region, what is the right selling price for my housing unit, etc. We also have developed in November of 2021 an affordability calculator which can work out in a specific region what is the right price point for housing. And beyond that, they can also look through our Center of Excellence, look at alternative building technology throughout the whole of Africa. Now you have, as you know, 3D printing. They can look at the works that's been done on 3D printing. You have a lot of other initiatives, etc. So they can look at that and see what projects we are doing across the whole of Africa.
It sounds to me like the 3D printing thing, I did a little bit of research on it, and I don't know if Alera would be happy to live in a house that is printed. Completely run out of time.
So all we can do at this point is to wish you all the best with your bond offering.
Thanks, Alera.
In March.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Andrew Chimponda, Group Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, Shelter Afrique.
Thank you, Alera, and thank you for your viewers for listening to me today. And Ayo, it's been a pleasure as well talking to you both, and I look forward to coming back to tell you about the results of our bond raise. We believe it will be successful, God willing, and we don't take this time you've given us for granted. Thank you, and God bless you both.
The only thing that I'll probably be looking forward to is, are you going to be bringing one of those printed houses? Don't answer that question. Well, just before we take this break, we may be moving away from the DSTV platform now, but then that's, of course, for Open Square, a live broadcast, but we'll give you more information about that in due course. Sunrise is back after now.